right, let's jump right in. Today's deep dive takes us into the world of German business structures.
Ooh, exciting.
It is exciting, and trust me, it's a lot more interesting than it might sound at first.
Oh, I bet it is. There's so much to unpack, right? From like the nitty-gritty legal stuff to the big picture of how businesses actually operate in Germany.
Exactly, and we're not just skimming the surface here, folks.
No way.
We're going deep, diving into the nuances and those little details you might miss in a typical overview.
Those are always the best parts, the hidden gems.
Absolutely. So for this deep dive, we've got some great sources lined up.
Yeah, like what?
We're looking at a really helpful guide from the IHK Ostwürttemberg. Those guys know their stuff.
For sure.
Plus, we're pulling insights from a couple of YouTube videos, one by Wirtschaft verstehen, which translates to Understanding Economics. Very fitting.
Love it. And the other one?
The other one is from High Performer Academy. They've got some great practical advice for entrepreneurs.
Sounds like we've got a good mix of theory and real-world application.
Exactly. So get ready, because we're about to unlock the secrets of the German business world. So
Let's do it.
our mission is to equip you with a clear understanding of the options out there, highlighting those unique aspects and maybe even some unexpected connections you might not find in a typical textbook.
Because, let's be honest, textbooks can be a bit dry sometimes, right?
They can be a bit dry. We're going for something more engaging, something that'll actually make you excited about doing business in Germany.
I think anyone considering doing business in Germany or even just curious about different business models will get a lot out of this.
Absolutely. Okay, so our sources point to three main categories of German business structures.
All right, lay it on me.
We've got the Einzelunternehmen, which translates to sole proprietorship.
Okay, the solo act.
Then we've got the Personengesellschaften, also known as partnerships.
Strength in numbers.
And finally, the Kapitalgesellschaften, or corporations.
The big leagues.
You got it.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting is that this categorization, right off the bat, tells you a lot about how things work.
How so?
Well, it instantly clarifies your liability, how the management structure works,
Well,
even how those profits are divvied up.
oh, so it's not just about picking a cool-sounding name. There are some serious implications here.
Very serious implications. And we're going to unpack all of them.
Okay, I'm ready. Where do we start?
Let's start simple with the Einzelunternehmen, the lone wolf approach.
Okay, tell me about the lone wolf.
This is the go-to for freelancers, tradespeople, small businesses just starting out.
Makes sense. Keep it simple.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it really is incredibly straightforward.
Like, how straightforward are we talking?
Well, there's no minimum capital requirement, and you could even set it up informally. No notary, no complex Gesellschaftsvertrag. That's the German term for a partnership agreement.
So you can basically just hang up your shingle and start doing business.
Pretty much. You're your own boss from day one.
That sounds pretty appealing, especially for someone who values, like, independence and wants to get things moving quickly.
I agree, but there's always a but, right?
Oh, there's got to be a catch, right? What's the downside?
The trade-off for all that simplicity is unlimited liability.
Uh-oh, that doesn't sound good.
It means you, as the owner, are personally on the hook for all the debts of the business.
So your personal assets, your house, your car, everything is at risk if things go south.
Exactly. This is something we can't stress enough, folks. It's a huge consideration.
Especially if you're just starting out, right? You're probably already taking a big leap of faith.
Definitely. So if you're craving simplicity but also want to sleep soundly at night, maybe a partnership is a better option.
Okay, let's talk partnerships. I'm intrigued.
Partnerships are interesting because they offer more options, but they also come with their own complexities and maybe even some potential pitfalls.
Okay, I'm already sensing some juicy drama here.
Haha, maybe a little. But first, let's break down the basics.
Hit me with it.
The most basic partnership model in Germany is the GBR, short for Gesellschaft Bürgerlichen Rechts.
Okay, that's a mouthful. What's the gist?
The gist is shared responsibility, both in terms of running the business and shouldering those risks.
So it's like the Einzelunternehmen, but with a buddy system.
Exactly. So let's say two friends decide to open a cafe as a GBR.
Okay, I'm picturing it. Cute little cafe, delicious pastries.
They're both equally liable for any debts the business might rack up.
Oh, so if the cafe fails and they can't repay that loan for the fancy espresso machine, their personal assets are on the line.
You got it. That's why having a clearly defined Gesellschaftsvertrag is so important, even if the law doesn't require it.
A Gesellschaftsvertrag, that's a partnership agreement, right?
Right. It outlines everyone's responsibilities, how the profits are shared, all that good stuff.
So it's like a prenup for your business?
Exactly. It's all about protecting yourself, your business partner, and maybe even your friendship.
Because mixing business and personal relationships can get messy.
It definitely can.
Okay.
So we've covered GBRs where everything is shared equally, but what about the OHG, the Offenhandelsgesellschafts?
Oh, another tongue twister. How is this one different?
The OHG is similar to the GBR, but it's specifically for commercial trading activities.
Okay, so more focused on buying and selling goods.
Exactly. And just like the GBR, unlimited liability is a core feature.
So still some risk involved.
But here's where things get interesting. The way profits are distributed in an OHG.
Okay, I'm all ears. This sounds juicy.
Well, the OHG mandates that every partner first gets a 4% return on their capital contribution.
Yeah.
And then any remaining profits are split evenly.
That sounds fair on the surface, but I can see how it could lead to some issues.
Exactly. Imagine two friends opening a bakery as an OHG.
All right, I'm picturing fresh bread, maybe some delicious cakes.
One friend invests 50,000 euros, the other invests 10,000.
Okay, so there's a significant difference in their initial investment.
Even if they both work equally hard, that 4% rule means the friend who invested more gets a bigger chunk of the profit initially.
Ah, I see where you're going with this. That could create some tension, right? Like, one friend might feel like they're doing all the work, but not reaping the rewards.
Exactly. It highlights why a well-crafted Gesellschaftsvertrag is so crucial, especially when money is involved.
It's like even if you trust your business partner completely, having everything spelled out in black and white can prevent misunderstandings down the line.
Absolutely. It's about setting clear expectations from the get-go.
Smart move.
Now, our sources mention a third type of partnership, the KG, or Kommanditgesellschaft.
Okay, bring on the KG. What's special about this one?
They actually say it's kind of rare these days.
Why is that?
Well, it's structured a bit differently. It's basically a hybrid with two types of partners, Komplementer and Kommanditgesell.
Whoa, those are some serious common words. Break it down for me.
No problem. The Komplementaire are like the general partners we've been talking about, full liability, managing the business, the whole 9 yards.
Got it. So what about these Kommanditisten? What's their deal?
They're limited partners. Their liability is capped at the amount they invested, and they typically have less say in the day-to-day operations.
Ah, so they get to enjoy limited risk, but also have limited control.
Exactly. It's like a trade-off. You get some protection, but you're not calling all the shots.
Makes sense. So I guess choosing a KG structure really comes down to your risk tolerance and how involved you want to be in running the business.
You hit the nail on the head. And it shows that partnerships, while they offer more options, they also require more thought, more planning, compared to that straightforward Einzelunternehmen.
It's like with more people involved, there's more potential for things to go smoothly, but also more potential for things to get complicated.
So true. So we've covered going solo with the Einzelunternehmen. We've navigated the intricacies of partnerships. But what about those who want to create a more separate legal entity for their business with limited liability?
Sounds intriguing. Spill the tea.
That's where the Kapitalgesellschaften come in, the German equivalent of corporations.
Ooh, now we're talking. This is where things get serious, right?
It does get a bit more complex. We're stepping into a world of more formal structures, but also more protection.
I'm ready for it. Bring on the corporations.
We'll dive into those fascinating structures in the next part of our deep dive. Stay tuned.
Can't wait.
All right, welcome back to our deep dive into German business structures.
Back for more?
Back for more. So we just finished exploring the Einzelunternehmen and the world of partnerships.
All those Gesellschaftsvertrags.
So many Gesellschaftsvertrags. But now we're shifting gears and diving into a whole new realm. Kapitalgesellschaften.
And German equivalent of corporations.
Exactly. And these are all about limiting personal liability and establishing a separate legal entity for your business.
It's like taking things to the next level, more structure, more options.
Definitely more options, but also, let's be honest, a little bit more complex.
Yeah, probably a good idea to grab a notepad for this part.
Might not be a bad idea. So where do we start with these Kapitalgesellschaften?
Let's start with the most popular one, the GmbH.
GmbH, that stands for?
Gesellschaft mit beschränkter Haftung.
Which translates to?
Company with limited liability.
Limited liability. That sounds pretty good, especially after all those discussions about unlimited liability with sole proprietorships and partnerships.
It's like a safety net for entrepreneurs, right? Your personal assets are protected from those business debts.
So if your business fails, your house, your car, your savings, they're all safe.
Exactly. That's the key advantage of a GmbH.
Sign me up. But I'm guessing there's a catch, right? There's always a catch.
Well, to establish a GmbH, you need a minimum capital contribution of 25,000 25,000 euros.
25,000 euros. That's a pretty big chunk of change, especially for someone just starting out.
It can be a hurdle, for sure. But there's an alternative for those who might not have that kind of cash lying around.
Oh, tell me more.
It's called the UG, also known as the Unternehmensgesellschaft, or as some people call it, the mini GmbH.
The GmbH, I like it. Sounds much more approachable.
Right, and it basically acts as a stepping stone to a full GmbH.
Okay, how does that work?
You only need €1 in starting capital to get things going.
€1. That's much more manageable.
But there's a clever catch.
There's always a catch. I should know this by now.
The UG requires you to save 25% of the company's annual profits until you reach that €25,000 threshold for a full GmbH.
Ah, so it's like a forced savings plan, but for your business.
Exactly. It helps you gradually build up that capital and transition smoothly into a GmbH.
I like it. It's like easing into the deep end instead of jumping straight in.
Exactly. And it shows how flexible the German system can be, catering to different needs and goals.
So we've got the GmbH for those who are ready to commit, the UG for those who are starting smaller.
But we can't forget about the big leagues, the heavy hitter in the Kapitalgesellschaften category.
You're talking about the AG, right? The Aktiengesellschaft.
That's the one. This is the structure for the big players, the companies you see listed on the stock exchange.
The Siemens, the Volkswagens, the Adidas of the world.
Exactly. It's the go-to structure for large enterprises seeking public investment and aiming for, serious expansion.
So it's more complex than the GmbH.
Oh, yeah. It's a whole different ballgame.
Like, what are the key differences?
Well, for starters, there's a much higher minimum capital requirement, €50,000 to be exact.
Okay, so you're already starting at a higher level.
Plus, the management structure is more intricate. You have a Vorstand, which is the management board, responsible for the day-to-day operations, and then an Aufsichtsrat, or supervisory board, overseeing the Vorstand.
So more layers of decision-making.
Exactly. And of course, the biggest difference from the GmbH is the ability to raise capital through the stock market.
That's how these companies really fuel their growth and expansion, right?
Precisely. By issuing shares, an AG can tap into a much wider pool of investors and access significant funding sources.
Makes sense. It's like if you're playing in the big leagues, you need the resources to match.
Exactly. You got to have the financial firepower to compete on that scale.
So we've covered the GmbH, the UG, the AG. These are the main players in the Kapitalgesellschaften world. But our sources also mention some more specialized structures like the limited and those Mischformen.
Right. Those are worth a quick look.
What can you tell us about the limited? It sounds kind of out of place in the German system.
Well, it actually is a UK company structure, but the interesting thing is you can use it in Germany.
So a little bit of British influence in the German business world.
Exactly. It's all about flexibility and finding the best fit for your needs. The limited offers limited liability and is pretty straightforward to set up, especially for someone coming from the UK.
Makes sense. A familiar option for those crossing borders.
Then we have the Mischformen, which basically translates to mixed forms.
So it's like mixing and matching different structures.
Exactly. You can get really creative and combine elements from different structures to create something that perfectly suits your business.
Like what kind of combinations are we talking about?
Well, a common one is the GmbH & Co. KG, which blends elements of a GmbH and a KG.
So you get the limited liability of a GmbH, but also the partnership structure of a KG.
Precisely. It's like having the best of both worlds.
It sounds really flexible, but I'm guessing it's not for the faint of heart.
You're right. These Mischformen can get pretty complex, especially from a legal standpoint.
So you definitely want to have a good lawyer on your team if you're going down that route.
Absolutely. It's not something you want to DIY.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. From the straightforward Einzelunternehmen to the intricate world of Kapitalgesellschaften.
And let's not forget those fascinating partnerships with their unlimited liability and profit-sharing quirks.
Definitely not forgetting those. It's clear that Germany offers a remarkably well-defined system for anyone looking to do business there.
A structure for every need and risk appetite.
But as the world changes, I can't help but wonder how these traditional structures will adapt to the new realities of business.
That's a great point. We live in a time of rapid change. Digital nomads, global startups, remote work. It's all happening so fast.
So how can a system rooted in tradition keep up? How can it stay relevant?
That's the million-dollar question, and it's one we'll tackle head-on in the final part of our deep dive.
Ooh, cliffhanger. All right, folks, stay tuned because things are about to get even more interesting. All right, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into German business
The
structures.
grand
The
finale.
grand finale. And we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
From solo entrepreneurs to big corporations, partnerships, those Gesellschaftsvertrags, limited liability, unlimited liability.
It's been a wild ride.
Yeah.
But now I want to shift gears a bit and think about the future.
Okay, I like where this is going.
We've explored this really well-defined system, right? But the world is changing so rapidly.
It's true, the business landscape is constantly evolving.
Digital nomads, global startups, remote work, it's a whole new ballgame.
And a very exciting one, I'd say.
Definitely exciting, but it also poses a challenge.
How so?
Well, how can these traditional German business structures, with their roots in, physical location and all that, how can they adapt to this new reality?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you bridge the gap between tradition and innovation?
Exactly. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts? Are we going to see a rise in those hybrid structures, the Mischformen we talked about?
I think it's very likely. Those Mischformen offer a lot of flexibility, and in a rapidly changing environment, flexibility is key.
Right, because who knows what the future holds? We might need entirely new legal forms to accommodate these new ways of working.
It's definitely possible. Imagine a world where a German company, structured as a virtual entity, operates seamlessly across multiple continents.
With a team of digital nomads contributing from all corners of the globe.
Exactly. No physical headquarters, no geographical limitations, just pure interconnected collaboration.
It's mind-boggling, isn't it? And that's just one possibility.
We're also seeing the rise of AI, automation. These technologies are going to have a huge impact on how businesses are structured and managed.
It's like we've explored these traditional structures, but now we need to think about how they can evolve, how they can stay ahead of the curve.
And that's where things get really interesting. It's not just about understanding the past, it's about anticipating the future.
So, for anyone listening who's thinking about doing business in Germany, this deep dive has been like laying the groundwork.
Providing you with the tools and knowledge to navigate the system.
But the real challenge, the real opportunity, lies in taking this knowledge and applying it to this rapidly changing world.
Think critically, stay curious, and don't be afraid to challenge the status quo.
Because who knows? Maybe you'll be the one to pioneer a new, innovative business structure that perfectly captures the spirit of this new era.
The future of German business is still being written, and it's an exciting time to be a part of it.
It really is. We've gone from the seemingly simple world of the Einzelunternehmen to envisioning a future where German companies operate as virtual entities on a global scale.
It's been quite the journey, wouldn't you say?
It has been an incredible journey,
Mm.
and it just goes to show that the world of business is full of surprises.
And possibilities. Don't forget the possibilities.
So, to wrap things up, we want to leave you with this. Keep learning, stay curious, and embrace those possibilities.
The knowledge we've shared is just the beginning.
It's a starting point for your own exploration, your own adventures in the world of German business.
And who knows, maybe someday we'll be doing a deep dive into your groundbreaking, innovative business structure.
That would be amazing. But for now, we'll leave you with that thought.
Keep dreaming big, folks.
And with that, we wrap up our deep dive into German business structures. Thanks for joining us.